So Jacob Collier has recently shared a video with us, quite an amazing video in fact. And I'll leave a link in the description section below of my reaction to this video. And it's where he's improvising the orchestra. We've seen him improvising the audience in terms of singing many a time, and that is also included in this video as well. However, the main takeaway from the video is watching him very much masterfully conducting the orchestra with no plan, just doing everything in the moment. And it was a really good lesson in terms of improvisation. What was interesting, he was in the key of G, and one thing I wanted to show you is this idea of playing chords but pedaling the same bass note. There was a feature that went something like this. So chord 1 in the key of G, and then like a 4/1, and then 5/1, 4/1, chord 1. So G major, if I give it to you in letters, and then C/D, C/G in fact, then D/G, back to C/G, and G major. I'll play it one more time. So G, C/G, D/G, back to C/G, and then G. That's so beautiful. So if I played it without playing it as broken chords, it would be like this: 2, 3, 4, then this chord C major, 5, which is D major, going back to G. Yeah. Now this is the world that we're in, G major. This is a major scale. So when I was referring to the number system, it's actually quite helpful to think about it like this. So we have chord 1, the first degree of the major scale. Then we have the 4th degree on the right hand. So chord 4 over that 1. So the 1 is still going to remain in the bass. Then we're going to have the 5th degree on the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, D major. Still over the G, and then back down to the C, over the G, and then coming home to G major. What's interesting about this progression, especially how it was kind of broken up, it was the cellos that were really kind of carrying this. So you got this G major chord, and what's interesting in terms of the chords that he's using, if I just break it down like this, so you've got G major, then we have C major, but it still has a G in it. So if you notice, the G is mutual both times. Then when we get to that D, like this is a very kind of, that's like super bright. But this D, you could just think about it as being a G major a G major 9 even. So essentially all of these chords really do hark very strongly to this G, and they're all major chord as well. Yeah. So it kind of led me on to kind of think, about some other kind of passing chords that you could incorporate, and not even only passing chords, in fact, just other chords that I've kind of found over the years, having listened to Jacob for quite some time, and that I would like to share with you, which I think would be quite helpful in terms of your music making, to kind of just create even more interest and more variation in terms of this idea of pedaling. Essentially the question is, what other chords could we use in kind of Jacob-esque style that would work? Well, a big one that comes to my mind is the minor 4. Yeah. So let me explain what's happening there. So if we put that in a progression, we're actually going to use the progression that Jacob did. So I'll give you the kind of first variation. So we had 1, and then 4/1. I'm going to go to the 5, but rather than just going back to the 4 as such, we're going to go 5 and then go minor 4. Oof. That minor feel, if you notice, once again, that G is mutual, even in terms of this C minor chord, because it has a G on the top. So it just works perfectly. It keeps everything in keeping with this G. And it just definitely adds a different nuance to the progression. So we have G, going to our major 4 on the right hand, so our C major, and then we have this D. You can even go to the major and then go minor. Oof. Yeah. Yeah, and that minor film, that kind of adds, it kind of, for me, kind of sounds like a kind of a 5-1. Like it's very powerful. This kind of, I could have gone 1 4 5 4 5 1. So if I play it like this, a bit clearer for you. Chord 1 4. If I wanted a chord after I go to the 5, I go back down to the 4. If I wanted another chord that was going to kind of bring us home, I would just do a kind of 5 1. But that 4 as a minor is kind of just enough. It kind of represents, it's kind of got the same weighting as like playing a chord 5, because in harmony, going from 5 to 1, that's going to be one of the strongest relationships you're going to get. So this is like a bit of a variation. Rather than going, say, 5 to 1, you could do a 4 minor to 1. Yeah, so if I just play it one more time, so you got G, 4, yeah, major, go back to the major and then minor. It's just that extra release, that extra bit of tension. Yeah, so that's option number 1, variation number 1. Another one comes to mind as well, and he kind of included a bit of this in the live performance of when he was conducting and arranging the orchestra. He did. So he included. Play it again. I'll show you what I mean. So go into that chord 4. I'm going to do this chord. Yeah, and then I'm going to go up to my 5. So we had a passing chord, and that passing chord was this sus fill on the G, which acts as a 5 to C. So if C is our destination, a really easy way to include a passing chord is to play a sus of 5, a sus chord. Now, let me go back a step. So if you think about what the 5 is of C, C is our destination, because in the progression we have chord 1, 4 over 1, 5 over 1, 4 over 1, and back to 1. So fundamentally it's chord 1, then we're going to 4, 5, 4, 1. So if I want a passing chord to transition to 4, I could think, okay, this G represents the 5 of C, because in music, as I said before, that perfect cadence going from 5 to 1, that's one of the strongest relationships you're going to get. 5, 1, it always sounds complete, but it gets creative when you start applying this theory to other chords, because then you can start to pull from that respective key center of the chord that you're going to. So for example, if I know I'm going to the key of C, although the key of G has F sharp in it, I know in the key of C it's all white notes. And if I pull an idea from the key of C in terms of this G representing the 5 of C, and I include a sus chord, that F sharp has now become natural. So already it's going to spark some beautiful interest, yeah, orally. So if I play it for you, fundamentally we have chord 1, then we have 4/1, 5, yeah. Now I'm going to include the passing chord. So chord 1, sus, oof, going to my 4, and I do the rest of the progression, 5, 4, and back home. And sus chords can be easily created like this. If, for example, I want to play this G as a sus chord, I'll play G on the left hand, on my right hand I'll think about G and then go down a tone and play a major of that. So in this case it would be a major of F. You can also play it like this, even fuller, what we call the 13, add in the G sus 13. So either one will work. You could do this, 2, and then go to our C. To me, because I know that the chord of C that's coming up next has an E in it, I think it's probably a bit much to include the E within that sus chord. I would leave the E out, so I'll just play just normal sus like this. And then sus to take me to here. Yeah. And I go to my 5 over the 1. I even do my minor 4. Beautiful. I'll play it one more time. Oof. Sus. Yeah. 5. Yeah. Alright, the last one I'm going to show you is a special one. It's this idea of, if you notice with the sus chord, I went down a tone and played a major of that. In this option, I'm actually going to go up a tone. So I'm going to think about the G, go up a tone, and play a major chord of that. It's going to create this sharp 11 kind of feel. Yeah, it's kind of Lydian feel. Yeah. So let me show you where we can include it, because I've definitely heard Jacob employ this sound. Yeah. So this is our fundamental chord progression. Now I've heard Jacob kind of end like this. Check this out. So say we're going to end right here. Yeah, I've heard him end like that. Let me show you that one. So it's a super interesting one, because in the key of G, that C sharp that's being played is not in the key. So once again, we're using an idea from a different world. We're actually I'd be thinking about the key of D, and I'll tell you why. So the Lydian mode is in relation to the 4th degree of the major scale. So if I know I'm going to be finishing on G, and I'm playing this chord, which I'm telling you, that I know that G has to represent the 4, and that will represent the 4 of D. It has to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So this is where this chord kind of makes sense in the world of D. Yep. But obviously we're finishing it in the context of G, so we're kind of pulling away from G into the world of D, and it just sparks some really interesting, a really interesting feel, especially finishing there. It's like completely, it's like you can just keep going. It's like unending. Let me show you that in context. So it'd be chord 1, 4/1. Yeah, 5/1, and then if you just want to finish on chord 1 and then go into that. Yeah, and all I'm doing there, I'm just playing a broken chord of A major. That's it. So there you go. 3 options building on this idea of pedaling, in this case the tonics or the home note. So to recap, the first option we had, well, let me give you the foundation. This was the foundation that we had. Chord 1, chord 4, over the 1, G being the 1, chord 5 over the 1, chord 4, and back to chord 1. So the first option I was giving you was that minor 4. So same when we go to 4 over 1 here, 5, and then that minor right here. I was saying about that minor 4 essentially being like a 5. It's kind of strong enough to be like a 5 to 1. That minor to 1 has the kind of same feel as a 5 to 1. Yeah, but obviously this has a kind of a darker sound. Yeah. Alright, then we had the sus approach on 5. So we were thinking about passing chords. So we were looking at going from chord 1 to ultimately to the C, and we were thinking about using 5, the 5 of C, as a bit of transport to get us there. And helpfully, we were already on G, so we just created a bit of interest by adding a sus to take us to the 4. So in context, it'd be like this: sus to the 4. Yeah, and remember that sus is created by whichever bass note we're dealing with. So in this case, G, going down a tone, playing a major of that. Yeah, so it'd be like this: sus to take us to our C, yeah, and then etc. So we had like a 5, 4, then finishing, and then finally we had the Lydian, this kind of this sharp 11, and it's referred to as a sharp 11 in relation to the G. If I play it to the in terms of the G major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sharp. So we're really drawing attention to this C sharp 11th degree that's sharpened. Yeah, and we were finishing like that, so we were going to go like this to the 4 over 1, yeah, 5 over 1, and then, and I was saying to just play like a broken chord, and then And in my mind, simply put, I'm just thinking, okay, I'm finishing on a G chord. On my right hand, I'm going to go up a tone and play a major of that. That's the chord I'm going to be outlining. And if we put it all together with all the options, then it will sound like something like this. 1 with the sus, oof, to the 4, yeah, and then our 5 over the 1, minor, and then finish. So there you go, guys. I hope you find this helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.